Welcome to the King Films 2021 MLB season record predictions and playoff picks. Let's start out in the West divisions. In the AL West, we've got the Oakland A's up top despite losing Liam Hendricks and Marcus Semien, as well as some other bullpen pieces, but I like this team. They made a couple good pickups. They got Elvis Andrus at the shortstop position, and this A's team has just been a team that kind of cobbles together wins, whether they've lost their best prospects or not. In second, we've got the Astros that lost George Springer, and they may well be losing Carlos Correa next. Obviously, they have some young stars still on the team, so I see the Astros being a solid pick for second. A lot of people do have them in first. I am kind of high on the Angels. I know a lot of people are higher on them than me, but I do have them going over 500, which is a great step for this team. They've got Dylan Bundy, Jose Quintana, and Alex Cobb. On the pitching side, of course, Shohei Ohtani as well. And we'll see what happens with this team. They've got Mike Trout, so obviously this team could be a factor. We'll see what they can do this year because year after year they've found a way to disappoint, but maybe this will be their year to go over 500. Next, down the list, we've got Texas. And, of course, they traded with the A's for Chris Davis. They've got Joey Gallo, but I don't know that they have much more than that. So they will get fourth, but I see the Mariners. As I will say a lot in this video, I think the front office motives here are going to mean a lot for the season predictions as I see them. And I don't think the Mariners are ready to win yet. So I think they still could be sellers at the trade deadline this year. So we'll see what happens. In the NL West, I have the Padres winning the division. I know a lot of people and Vegas have the Dodgers winning, but they did make some additions over the season, and honestly, I think it'll be close either way. Obviously, I've got it within 2 games, but both will get playoff spots, of course, and I see the Padres winning. The Dodgers I have in second for no reason. I mean, they got Bauer, of course, but they lost Hernandez and Jock Peterson. So they have a great pitching staff still, but I'm just going to have them playing in second because the Padres obviously are a really good team, and I see them winning it. Next up, we've got the Giants, who have Brandon Belt coming back, as well as Buster Posey and Brandon Crawford. I mean, all of these guys are kind of way out of their prime at this point. And they made some gains in the offseason, getting lucky with a few trades, picking up the Twins pitcher. I can't remember his name, but honestly, I think they'll finish sub 500. I think all 3 of these teams at the bottom of the West here will all lose most of their games to the Dodgers and the Padres. Next up, I've got the Diamondbacks. They do have Mad Bum, but I don't think that will be enough for them to go over 500 or even finish third in the division, as they have a pretty bad bullpen. Next up, we've got the Rockies, whose front office is trying to sell this season already with that Arenado trade. They do have some decent pitching, but what does it matter up in the altitude? Let's move east, where we've got the Central Division, and I've got the Twins winning this division this year. The Twins have a pretty solid roster. Byron Buxton and Josh Donaldson can avoid injury. They have plenty of a chance to win this division, although I think it'll be neck and neck with the Sox. The Sox do have Jose Abreu in a solid roster, so I think that they could be a force to be reckoned with in a otherwise pretty down Central 2 divisions, but I'm giving the Twins the win still, so Sox are second at 87 wins. Next, we've got the Indians. They've got a dominant 1-2-3 in Zach Plesac and Tristan McKenzie, as well as Shane Bieber. That looks pretty promising, and I think that they'll be a good team this year, good enough to maybe have a chance at the playoffs later down the road, despite the weaker strength of schedule, just because of the harsh nature of the AL East, as you'll see in the next slide. Kansas City and Detroit, I don't really think have much of a chance. Kansas City maybe more so, that they could, maybe be in tension later in the season, but I think Detroit will be sellers at the trade deadline. NL Central, the Cardinals got Arenado again in a great trade for them. I see them going 95 and 67 here. And we've got the Brewers in second place, just above 500, but I don't think that they will make the playoffs here. Next up, we've got the Cubs in third, and They're pretty much in danger in my mind of Chris Davis, Anthony Rizzo, and Javi Baez getting shipped out at this trade deadline if they can't get off to a hot start. So it's really risky having them at 81 and 83. I think they're a solid team. I mean, obviously, all three of those guys I just mentioned are free agents, so we'll see what happens. The Reds, obviously, were maybe the most overhyped team last year, kind of like the Sox this year, but obviously they gave up Trevor Bauer and a few other pieces over the offseason, so we'll see what happens. They do have Sonny Gray and Luis Castillo, but I don't think it's going to be enough for them to even go 500 here. And then the Pirates, I think that they will have perhaps the worst season in baseball this year, going 58 and 104. Finally, let's move on to the East, where I have a three-way tie in the AL with New York, the Blue Jays, and the Rays. I honestly don't know what to do with this division. I like all the teams in it at the top here. I think that it's clear-cut that Boston and the Orioles will not be in contention, but, obviously I could see all three of these teams getting into the playoffs, so that's what I have happening here. Obviously, you've got this Yankees team. I can't rely on their pitching, but otherwise they are a dominant team, to say the least. The Rays shipped off Blake Snell and lost about 5 or 6 other contributing members, but I still have them being a great squad this year, given at a slightly lower win total than last year, of course, win percentage-wise. And then the Blue Jays, who started to make a top-heavy roster this year. I'm kind of high on them. I see them getting to the playoffs here, whether they come in this three-way tie, which seems pretty unlikely, but could happen. They got George Springer, they got Marcus Semien, so we'll see what happens. The Red Sox and Orioles, as I mentioned before, remain in no man's land. Finally, in the NL East, I've got Atlanta at the perch, and I like their lineup 1 through 9, so we'll see what happens. Then we've got the Mets, who made a couple moves in the offseason to acquire Francisco Lindor, notably. And then we've got Washington, Philadelphia, and the Marlins. I see all these teams hanging around, as I don't see any one team being really too dominant, even though I do have the Braves at 93 wins. They're a great team, but I don't see them dominating and getting to 100 wins, say, like I do in the NL West. So we'll see what happens here. But now let's finally move on to the playoff predictions. So obviously we've got the 3 AL East teams, with New York getting the 2 seed at the highest, and then the other 2 playing in the wild card. I've got the A's at number 1 because I think they play in a weaker division, but we'll see what happens. Honestly, if any team in the East gets off hot and can ditch the others, they're obviously going to be the 1 seed. So consider this not locked. And then I do have that Central team in the 4 seed. So we'll see what happens. And those are my playoff predictions for the AL. And then in the NL, it's really unfair because San Diego and LA both deserve to be the 1 and 2, but one will be forced to go to the wild card game. And even if they don't quite reach 100 games, I think they'll be like 1 and 3 maybe in the whole NL, and one will have to play an elimination game, which is sad to me, but maybe they'll tie and then at least they get 2. So then we've got a tough second spot with St. Louis at 95 wins. Then we've got Atlanta, obviously, at 93. And the Mets rounding it off by 1 game, beating the Brewers out to get in with 85 wins. And I see them getting smacked up by LA in that wild card game, but we'll see what happens. So thank you for watching these predictions. Please be sure to like and subscribe to the channel, and thank you for watching.